The minarets of Islam stand as silent witnesses to centuries of history, migration, and resilience, even in places where many least expect them. Ukraine, known for its vast steppes, historic Cossack legacies, and geopolitical crossroads, has a deep and intricate relationship with Islam that stretches back nearly a millennium. Though often overshadowed by the dominant Christian traditions of Orthodoxy and Catholicism, the presence of Islam in Ukraine is a compelling narrative of cultural fusion, trade, conquest, and endurance. Today, as global interest in Ukraine grows due to its geopolitical significance, it is vital to explore the long and dynamic history of Islam's rise and development in this region. From the arrival of Muslim traders and warriors to the survival of Crimean Tatars under Tsarist repression and Soviet persecution, the story of Islam in Ukraine is one of both triumph and hardship, interwoven with the fabric of Ukrainian identity itself. Welcome to Informative Channel. Today, we explore an intriguing topic: the rise of Islam in Ukraine. With a growing Muslim population and a rich historical presence, Islam is becoming more significant in Ukrainian society. Let's delve into its history, current trends, and future prospects. Islam's roots in Ukraine stretch back to the 10th century, long before modern borders or the idea of a Ukrainian nation-state. During this time, the lands that now constitute Ukraine were home to various tribes and emerging political entities, including the Kievan Rus, which was predominantly Slavic and pagan before adopting Christianity in 988 under Prince Vladimir the Great. Yet, even before this Christianization, Muslim traders, scholars, and emissaries were making their way into these lands, establishing the first connections between Ukraine and the Islamic world. The earliest Muslim presence in what is now Ukraine can be traced to Arab and Persian merchants who traveled along the Volga trade routes, exchanging goods, ideas, and cultural influences. These Muslim traders were instrumental in the exchange of commodities such as silver, furs, textiles, and spices, and their interactions with local Slavic and Turkic tribes laid the groundwork for a more sustained Islamic presence in the region. One of the earliest recorded Islamic influences in Ukraine comes from the Volga Bulgars, a Turkic Muslim people who had adopted Islam by the 10th century. These Bulgars had extensive trade and diplomatic relations with Kievan Rus and other Eastern European entities. Some historical sources suggest that Bulgar emissaries attempted to introduce Islam to the rulers of Kievan Rus before Vladimir chose Orthodox Christianity. While their efforts did not result in mass conversions, they contributed to the slow but steady presence of Islam within the region. Archaeological evidence, including coin hoards inscribed with Arabic script, points to Muslim economic activity within the territories of modern Ukraine, further confirming early interactions between the Islamic world and the Slavic lands. The real expansion of Islam in Ukraine, however, came with the rise of the Golden Horde in the 13th century. The Mongol invasion of Kievan Rus in the 1240s reshaped the political and cultural landscape of Eastern Europe, and among the conquerors were numerous Turkic and Mongol tribes that eventually embraced Islam. By the mid-14th century, the ruling elite of the Golden Horde had converted to Islam, and their influence extended deep into Ukrainian lands, particularly in the steppe regions. This period saw the consolidation of Islam among the nomadic and semi-nomadic Turkic groups that would later become the Crimean Tatars. The Crimean Tatars, descendants of various Turkic peoples who had merged with Mongol conquerors, became the primary bearers of Islam in Ukraine. By the 15th century, the Crimean Khanate had emerged as a powerful Muslim state under the suzerainty of the Ottoman Empire. Centered in the Crimean Peninsula, the Khanate controlled much of southern Ukraine, and its influence spread through raiding, trade, and diplomatic engagements. The Crimean Tatars played a crucial role in the geopolitics of Eastern Europe, at times allying with the Ottomans against Poland, Lithuania, and Muscovy, while also engaging in trade with the Christian powers of Europe. Islam flourished in the region under the Crimean Khanate, with mosques, madrasas, and Islamic courts forming the backbone of Tatar society. Despite the power of the Crimean Khanate, Islam in Ukraine faced significant challenges with the rise of the Russian Empire. In 1783, Catherine the Great annexed Crimea, marking a turning point for Muslims in the region. Under Russian rule, the Crimean Tatars suffered from land dispossession, forced migrations, and cultural repression. Thousands fled to the Ottoman Empire, particularly to modern-day Turkey, leaving behind abandoned villages and mosques. The 19th century saw continued efforts by the Russian authorities to assimilate or marginalize the remaining Muslim populations, with policies designed to weaken Islamic institutions and encourage conversion to Christianity. The Soviet era brought even greater persecution. In 1944, under Joseph Stalin, the entire Crimean Tatar population was accused of collaborating with Nazi Germany and was deported en masse to Central Asia. This act of ethnic cleansing resulted in the deaths of thousands due to harsh conditions and inadequate resources. With their forced removal, Islam nearly disappeared from Crimea and southern Ukraine for decades. Mosques were demolished or repurposed, Islamic texts were destroyed, and religious leaders were imprisoned or executed. It was only in the late 20th century, with the collapse of the Soviet Union, that Crimean Tatars were allowed to return to their ancestral lands. Since Ukraine's independence in 1991, there has been a revival of Islam, particularly in Crimea. Returning Crimean Tatars have rebuilt mosques, revived religious practices, and established Islamic educational institutions. The Ukrainian government has generally supported religious freedom, allowing the growth of Islamic organizations and the recognition of Tatar cultural rights. However, the 2014 annexation of Crimea by Russia has again placed Crimean Tatars and their Islamic identity under threat. Reports of repression, arrests of Muslim activists, and restrictions on religious expression have emerged, drawing international condemnation. Beyond Crimea, Ukraine's Muslim community has grown due to immigration from Central Asia, the Middle East, and the Caucasus. Cities such as Kyiv, Kharkiv, and Odessa have seen the establishment of new mosques and Islamic cultural centers, reflecting the diverse nature of Ukraine's modern Muslim population. Islam in Ukraine today is no longer confined to the Crimean Tatars but includes Uzbeks, Azerbaijanis, Chechens, and Arabs, contributing to a broader Islamic presence in the country. As Ukraine navigates its complex political and cultural landscape, Islam remains an integral yet often overlooked part of its history and identity. The rise of Islam in Ukraine is not a singular event but a long, evolving process shaped by conquests, migrations, persecutions, and revivals. From the medieval trade routes that first brought Islamic influences to the modern-day struggles of Crimean Tatars, the presence of Islam in Ukraine is a testament to the resilience of faith and culture in the face of adversity. In an era where Ukraine's future is being fiercely contested, the story of its Muslim communities serves as a reminder of the country's deep-rooted diversity and historical interconnectedness with the Islamic world. The rise of Islam in Ukraine reflects the country's diversity and evolving cultural landscape. From historical Crimean Tatar roots to modern Muslim communities, Islam continues to shape Ukraine's identity. Stay tuned for more insightful content on Informative Channel. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.